Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we are diving into a pivotal moment in human history, an event that sent shockwaves across the globe and reshaped our understanding of freedom and justice. We are talking about the year 1833 and the abolition of slavery in the British Empire. For centuries, the transatlantic slave trade had inflicted unimaginable suffering. Millions of Africans were forcibly taken from their homes, transported across the ocean in horrific conditions, and sold into a life of brutal bondage in the Americas and elsewhere. The British Empire was a major player in this horrific system, and its economy was deeply entangled with the profits of slave labor, especially on sugar plantations in the Caribbean. But tides of change were rising. A powerful abolitionist movement had been gaining momentum for decades in Britain. Activists like William Wilberforce, Olaudah Equiano, and Mary Prince tirelessly campaigned, exposing the moral bankruptcy and sheer cruelty of slavery. They organized petitions, published harrowing first-hand accounts, and spoke out in Parliament, slowly but surely turning public opinion against the institution. Their message was simple and profound: no human being should ever be the property of another. Finally, after years of relentless struggle, their efforts culminated in the Slavery Abolition Act of 1833. This landmark legislation declared that slavery would be illegal throughout the vast British Empire. On August 1st, 1834, more than 800,000 enslaved men, women, and children in British colonies, particularly in the Caribbean, were declared free. However, the story isn't quite that simple. The act didn't grant immediate, unconditional freedom. Instead, most of the formerly enslaved were forced into a system of apprenticeship, which essentially meant they had to continue working for their former masters for several more years. It was a deeply flawed transition, and the so-called freedom was far from complete. Furthermore, the British government paid a staggering sum of £20 million, a massive chunk of the national budget at the time, not to the people who had been enslaved, but to the slave owners as compensation for their loss of property. It's a bitter and controversial part of this history that is often overlooked. Despite these serious flaws, the 1833 Act was a monumental turning point. It was the first time a major colonial power had passed such sweeping legislation, and it set a powerful precedent. The British Royal Navy began actively patrolling the Atlantic to intercept slave ships, putting immense pressure on other nations like Spain, Portugal, and Brazil to end their involvement in the trade. The abolition in the British Empire inspired and energized anti-slavery movements worldwide. Activists in the United States, France, and across Latin America saw it as proof that change was possible. It fueled the global fight for human rights and laid the groundwork for future struggles against colonialism and racial injustice. It affirmed, on a global stage, that the principles of liberty and human dignity should apply to everyone, regardless of their race